Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and I am in the mood for WarioWare. Intelligent Systems, who you'll know for Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, and of course most famously Pound Upon, have made a game every single year since 1998, and they're of course also responsible for WarioWare. The Switch already has these games, so something's missing, and it is Pound Upon, but it's also WarioWare. Take it away, John that's not on the camera. The last entirely new traditional WarioWare game was 14 years ago. The series has been far from dead with its DIY, Game & Wario, and a big compilation title, but a brand new, from the ground up WarioWare game has been missing for some time. And 4 years into the Switch's life, and 3 years since the last game, I think it's about time for a brand new WarioWare game, and there is so much potential. Where do we even start? Well, what would WarioWare on the Switch even be? We've had games using buttons, tilt, motion controls, touch, camera. Huh. WarioWare snapped. This was a DSiWare launch title, and it's basically a very, very small WarioWare game. We're talking around 20 microgames, this is absolutely tiny, but you control it using your body. You'll do things like shake off a dog and collect coins and kiss a bunch of people. It's an interesting premise, but the majority of your game time will revolve around doing this. Yeah, it's not responsive. The idea though of WarioWare having endless inputs is a fascinating one, and it's something the Switch can do too. Turn your Switch this way a moment. Do you remember this? That's the IR camera. Very few games have used this. In Resident Evil Revelations, you can reload by pushing the gun onto a clip, like this. I mean, pressing the Y button's easier, but it's there. Then, of course, there's Labo. The IR camera will do things like measuring the distance of string, and with that relates to inputs in the game. It's ingenious and it works flawlessly. And unfortunately, there aren't very many more examples. During the Switch presentation at the start of 2017, Koizumi would demonstrate that the IR camera could recognize fingers. It could even recognize rock, paper, and scissors. The thing is, for years, no games did that. 1-2 Switch has a sandwich eating game where the IR camera recognizes if your mouth is open or closed, but for the most of 2017, 2018, and 2019, we got diddly squat. But on January 3rd, 2020, Europe got Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training. This may seem just like the DS and 3DS games, simple maths and brain training games. But then we have Quick Play, and this is where it gets really interesting. Here, there are 3 games that do exactly what Koizumi was talking about. There's finger drills where you hold up the IR camera and simply mimic what it's saying on screen. There's a calculation game where you solve maths problems by holding up fingers. And there's also a rock, paper, scissors game. That sounds very familiar. So it took 3 years, but this premise did surface, and it was really, really responsive. WarioWare Snapped is a good proof of concept, but it just doesn't work well enough. But the IR camera on the Switch Joy-Con has proven that it can work. Basically, take how it works in brain training and scrap all the educational stuff. Instead of doing calculations, you use your finger to, like pick a nose or something. The possibilities are vast, and this introduces an entirely new style of WarioWare. So, am I pitching that WarioWare on the Switch is a camera game? Not exactly. I find the strength of this series is how varied it can be. Smooth Moves found all these ways to hold the Wii Remote. The Form Baton. Gold had touch and buttons and motion and blowing, so to limit the Joy-Con to just one thing sounds like a needless limitation. This tiny thing is more than just a controller. It has an accelerometer, and a gyro sensor, an HD rumble. There is so much you can do. Something like Ball Count from 1-2 Switch could come back, where you move around the Joy-Con and feel how many balls are inside. If we're honest, most Switch games have hardly touched the Joy-Con technology. These little things are more advanced than a Wii Remote, and WarioWare has never done a Wii Motion Plus game. You could do regular buttons, motion, camera, HD rumble, touch. It's basically limitless. But you might think, John, hold the phone! How could they possibly build it around the Joy-Con when the Switch Lite exists? And yeah, that's a fair point. There's around as many Switch Lites out there as Wii U's in their entirety. It's a pretty big part of the user base. And I say this in good faith, I still think basing this game around the Joy-Con is the right move. Super Mario Party is a single Joy-Con game. You can't even get past the menu without a Joy-Con, and Joy-Con are on the box art. And this game sold 13.82 million units. And not to compare everything to the Wii U, but Super Mario Party also outsold the Wii U. Oh my poor baby. Having WarioWare be a Joy-Con only game would definitely limit its appeal, but I honestly think it's worth that risk for what you gain. Do you remember that HD Rumble can produce sound effects? This is something I forget all the time, but Kirby Star Allies had a full-on song, and in Super Mario Party, when it's your go, the Joy-Con goes. I'm just imagining this WarioWare microgame, but the sound coming from the Joy-Con rather than the speakers of the game itself. Again, so much potential. So WarioWare on the Switch could not only be the first traditional game in over a decade, but it could showcase the Joy-Con in a way that very few Switch games even attempt. But there's one more thing it could do. This could either be a multiplayer mode or its own standalone game, but WarioWare 99, baby! So in this mode, you play traditional WarioWare against 99 other players. I'm using 35 because it's easier. Now, I have two ideas for this. First idea is the attackers send new elements to your next microgame. So if you weren't attacked, Nintendogs would play a bit like this. But if you were attacked, now there's two dogs you gotta high five. The horror! This means if there's like 6 people targeting you, you can choose attackers and send elements to all of them, or focus on just one person and send all of that just to them. The strategy could be really fun, and of course the games would get faster the fewer players there are. And my alternative idea is attackers send mini Warios onto your screen to obscure the action. So if there's 7 people on you, it'll be really hard to see what's going on. This could introduce challenge for even seasoned WarioWare players. Imagine being in the final 10 and barely being able to see a thing. The tension would be palpable. The Switch really is the perfect platform for this franchise, and I truly think it's going to happen sometime soon. It's been far too long since we've seen original games in this series, and there's so much they can do on the Switch. Outside of Game & Wario, this franchise has never really been in HD. Gold even had full voice acting, and Charles Martinet was let off the leash with this one.
Only right and left, got it? Oh yeah, you'll need the A button too. It's the one with the A on it. Hey, why aren't you twisting stuff yet?
So whether they explore the Switch's unique features or take the series online for the very first time, I'm just excited for the possibilities and future of this wonderful, wonderful franchise. So what do you fellas think? Is it time for the return of WarioWare? And what do you want it to be? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to go to that subscribe button and play a bunch of micro games until you eventually lose, which is the way of life. And we'll see you next time. Bye everyone. Waha! Hey, you're still here. I want to point out something that I found very touching when recording footage for this. I've been playing Smooth Move since it came out, but I never caught that the shopkeeper is Satoru Iwata. His face is obscured most of the time, but during the closing cutscene, you can see it in its entirety, and he's even holding a Donkey Kong Game & Watch. And if you still doubt this is him, during the credits they even name drop him as shop manager Iwata. I just found this very cute, and I had no idea that this was in the game. Anyway, thank you for watching, and it's beautiful that he's been immortalized in such a fun game.